Well, all right, all right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Hot Seat Automotive Podcast. It's your buddy CJ here. And tonight, we're talking about all things automotive industry, the automotive enthusiast hobby, cars, all the things that real gearheads love talking about. Real Gearhead Talk. This is the place to be for all that real gearhead talk. Welcome back to all my subscribers. You know your buddy CJ loves each and every one of you. If you're new to the channel, please give me a like and subscribe. Around here, we talk about classic cars, exotic cars, automotive events, motorsports, what's going on in the industry. We talk about it all. This is what automotive enthusiasts do, right? Your buddy CJ has been an automotive enthusiast, a gearhead, a car guy for decades. And when I'm not driving a car and back in the day working on cars and working on trucks, working on airplanes, all kinds of stuff I did, we'll get into that later. I love talking about cars with my buddies, man. And that's what we're doing. And it's Friday night. And you know, on Friday night, we like to have some fun. Nothing too serious. We're not going to talk about the state of the automotive industry. We're not going to try to solve the world's problems. Tonight, we're going to have some fun. We're going to roast some cars from the 1980s. Your buddy CJ, listen, I lived through the 1980s. I was there. How many of you were there? Leave me those comments. But let me tell you something. As a car guy in the 1980s, as a kid, it was an interesting time. It was an interesting decade. And there were some high spots in the 80s, maybe, but there were some low lows. There were some low spots in the 80s for cars. Real talk. And we can laugh about it now. Many people, in all seriousness, refer to like 70s and 80s as a bit of the malaise era, emissions, oil crisis, challenges in the economy, quality issues, particularly coming out of Detroit and other places in the world. It was a funky era for the automotive industry. It was a funky era. Your buddy CJ said it. You heard it here first. But tonight, we roasting. I got 6 cars in no particular order. I'm going to give you 6 of the worst cars of the 1980s. 6 awful, terrible, hideous cars from the 1980s. Now listen, you can disagree with my list and we can still be friends. But I got a rule for you. If you disagree with my list, you got to tell me what's on your list. First of all, you got to tell me why you like one of these terrible, awful, rotten cars. Number 1. Number 2, you got to tell me what's on your list. So come on, let's get right into it, guys. In no particular order. Look at this thing. First things first. Worst cars of the 1980s. Any list of terrible cars from the 1980s has to include the Chevy Citation, also known as the Chevy Slotation. Guys, this car was a case study for quality issues and failures. This car had hope. This car had promise. But this car was poorly executed and ended up being a real disaster for General Motors. They tried to recover it, and it just didn't work. Now, a couple things. I promised you I would roast these cars tonight. This is an original photo from the era. This was a promo photo for the Chevy Citation. This is false advertising, and I will tell you why. You see this lovely lady in this photo? Beautiful woman, this model, whatever, in this photo. This is false advertising because real talk, no attractive woman ever drove a Chevy Citation in the 1980s. I was there. The people who got suckered into buying Chevy Citations was like somebody's dad or somebody's uncle, and they somehow ended up buying a Citation. They didn't look like that. That chick, that young lady, was not driving a Chevy Citation in the 1980s. Come on. These cars were awful. I don't think many survived. And what is there to like about a Chevy Citation? If you want to defend the Chevy Citation, you got to tell me why. Like, they had major quality issues. They had a couple of interesting trim packages where they tried to go with the X11 or something, kind of a sport thing. Didn't really work out because the car didn't have the chops, right? The car had major problems. So false advertising, no attractive women ever drove Chevy Citations in the 1980s. You know I'm kidding, guys. Come on. But in all seriousness, Chevy Citation from the 1980s, one of the top 6 worst cars to come out of that decade. Let's keep going. Who's having more fun tonight than us? Nobody. Nobody is having more fun than us tonight. Listen, let's keep going. Guys, tonight we are roasting awful cars from the 1980s. And what we got here is a Chrysler Town and Country. This thing's awful on multiple levels. Whose grandfather was wilding in the 1980s, be honest, and went out and bought one of these Town and Country K cars with the wood paneling, the fake wood paneling? Yo, this was a thing. You weren't fooling anybody. You were not living the high life in that Chrysler Town and Country. Come on, we having fun tonight. We roasting the Chrysler Town and Country and other terrible cars from the 80s. Guys, get at me with those comments. Look at those hubcaps. Look at those wire wheel hubcaps. You ain't fooling anybody with them hubcaps. Let me tell you something. The only thing those hubcaps would do for you is fall off, within the first 18 months of owning the car. Those hubcaps would be on the side of the road, and you'd be lucky if your car's still rolling without them hubcaps. Let me tell you something. These cars, what was it with these cars, guys? They were always sagging in the back. Who knows what I'm talking about? K-car guys, you tell me if I'm wrong. If you know a thing or two about K-cars from the 80s, these cars always had the sag. What's up with that? Guys, these K-cars, listen, it was a revolutionary idea, Lee Iacocca. There's a legendary history to the K-car, no doubt. But let me tell you something. The execution, these Town and Countries, Grandpa was wilding. Whose grandparents were wilding? I want to know. You leave me comments. If your grandparents had the convertible Town and Country, they was retired, they were enjoying life. God bless them wherever they are today. But man, oh man, I'm telling you what, these things are terrible. Listen, leave me comments if you feel differently. Let's keep going because we roasting tonight. We having fun. It's Friday night, guys. Don't take any of this too seriously. Chill. If I'm offending anybody out there, come on. We having fun. This is what we do. We talk about cars. Don't take it too seriously, people. Come on. Let's keep going. Your buddy CJ's list of the worst cars of the 1980s. I'm not letting Toyota off the hook. Listen, Japan did much better from a quality standpoint, perhaps, in the 1980s than Detroit did. But let me tell you something. Toyota Tercel from the 1980s. What is this thing? Look at this car is like geometry. I looked at this car. I remember back in the day, the angles and whatnot. What's up with the math on this car? Who designed this car? It's a bunch of angles and geometry. Listen, by the way, Toyota guys, don't get mad at me. If you look at this particular Toyota Tercel, that color was actually called Caca Brown. All right, listen, come on. I don't know who was ordering their Toyota Tercel in Caca Brown, but that's what this color was known as. A lot of these cars were blue. This was someone's mom's car back in the 80s. Real talk. The only person who bought this was your buddy's mother in the 80s. And listen, this was a car for people who didn't like cars. 1980s Toyota Tercel was a car for people who did not like cars. Listen, if you're a Toyota enthusiast, you want to talk about the MR2, you want to talk about your Tacoma, I get it. Incredible, awesome vehicles. I'm a fan of Toyota. Dudes who know me know I'm a fan of Toyota. But in the 80s, this thing was whack. Toyota Tercel from the 1980s, guys. Leave me those comments. It's on your buddy CJ's list of one of the worst cars from the 1980s. You tell me what you think. Let's keep going. Let's keep going, guys. Who's having fun out there? All right. I'm about to jump on Chevy. On my list of the worst cars from the 1980s, the Chevrolet Celebrity Eurosport. There is nothing Euro about this car. Eurosport? What is that? You a European? An athlete? What? Look at this. They were going for like the boomer thing, the baby boomers. Like if you were starting a family and you achieved a certain income status, you could buy a nice Chevrolet Celebrity Eurosport 4-door, still be sporty, get the whole family in there, put your 2.5 kids in the back, okay? But you weren't fooling anybody. This was not a European car. The only thing Eurosport about this was the name. Well, this thing was goofy. And by the way, how much sport was in this car with that 2.8 liter? I had a car with the 2.8 liter fuel injected Chevy. Yo, that whole power plant was whack. The thing sounded like a tomato can muffler over maybe a lawnmower. But let me tell you something. This car is so 80s. This was a thing. These front wheel drive cars, Eurosport, listen, leave it in the 80s. I don't think many of these survived. You know, the whole Eurosport thing. If you wanted a European car in the 80s, you go buy a BMW or a Mercedes. You know, maybe I think, and that's what they were going for, right? If you think about the history of the automotive industry, Chevy trying to sort of defend its turf and say, look, we've got this sophisticated European sedan. You weren't fooling anybody. Listen, none of us thought these were cool. You know, it was just like, wow, look at that trim package, right? 1980s Chevy Celebrity Eurosport. This is one of the wackest cars coming out of the 80s. I'm sorry. It's on your buddy CJ's list of one of the worst of the 80s. Let's leave it in the 80s. You guys tell me what you think. Let's keep going. Let's keep going, guys. Come on. Now, listen. If we're going to beat up Chevy, we got to beat up Ford. 1980s Ford Fairmont. What is it about these cars? Like, let me tell you something. First of all, this is a vintage promo photo from the era, from the 80s. What was this family doing with this Ford Fairmont? You took your Ford Fairmont off-road in the 80s? The only thing you're going to do is face disaster and hardship, taking your Ford Fairmont off-road in the 80s. These cars were awful. They were underpowered. They were goofy. They were kind of in between a full-size sedan and a compact car, somewhere in between, okay? Again, another car for people who did not like cars. This was basic transportation. And you know I'm having fun tonight, guys, and we just roasting. It's Friday night. Let's have fun. But there's nothing nice to say about a Ford Fairmont in stock form from the 80s. Now, subsequently, I've seen some guys hot rod these. Shout out if you've hot rodded a Ford Fairmont. I know I went on a rally last year. There was a local guy who had a really cool goosed out. I don't know what he had in that thing. Some built motor. This thing was not naturally aspirated. I think it was supercharged, if I remember correctly. Big wide drag slicks on it. But that's a whole other kettle of fish. 1980s Ford Fairmont, terrible car. It's on your buddy CJ's list of one of the worst cars from the 80s. And my question for you is, whatever happened to this poor family that took their Ford Fairmont off-road in the Grand Canyon? This is false advertising, because I promise you, that family driving this Ford Fairmont off-road in the 1980s, they're lost. All hope was lost. Number one, the Ford Fairmont broke down right after it got stuck. They got attacked by bears. Something bad happened. You know that battery was flat after the first. Come on, guys. We having fun tonight. Ford Fairmont from the 80s. Not a classic at all. Let's keep going. Guys, on the topic of the worst cars coming out of the decade that was the 1980s, Plymouth Horizon is right up there. These things were awful. Listen, I had a family member who had one of these cars. Nothing but problems. I believe Dodge had a commensurate model with a different badge on it. But these things were just absolutely awful front-wheel drive cars. Nothing but problems. There was nothing in the aesthetics of these cars, to attract an automotive enthusiast. This was cheap transportation in the 1980s. This was basic transportation and not well executed. The malaise era. Quality issues. How many of these do you still see on the road? When was the last time you saw one of these on the road? Like never? I think a lot of these rusted away, rotted away, or got crushed in the 80s or shortly thereafter. Terrible cars. Listen, no kid in the 1980s said, boy, I'd really like to have a Plymouth Horizon. It just didn't happen. I was there. I was a car guy in the 80s. And nobody wanted one of these. You would see like some poor kid gets his driver's license or her driver's license, and mom and dad let him borrow the Horizon. Cruising around on that on a Friday night, you'd almost rather be home. You'd rather be home playing your Atari or maybe riding your bike in the neighborhood than cruising in your Plymouth Horizon in the 80s. These cars were not cool, okay? So look, guys, we're having a little bit of fun. It's all a bit tongue-in-cheek. I wanted to come on here, give you your buddy CJ's list of 6 awful cars from the 1980s. You can disagree with me. We having fun tonight, but you got to leave me your list of the worst cars from the 1980s. And if you actually liked one of these cars on my list, tell me about it. Tell me why I'm wrong, because I love to hear from you. Guys, in all seriousness, happy Friday. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. We have fun around here. Don't take any of this too seriously, people. Leave me those comments. Give me that like and subscribe. Guys, have a fabulous weekend. And until I see you on the next one, peace.